Everyone, give it up for Hannah Rose. And also remember, she has swag posters in her car, so just remember to look for the El Camino and
like a little drug deal.
Bring money, cash only. Up next, we have our show, the Bud Rebel Show, and we're gonna hear from Bud Rebel and Ari Spencer.
We're going to set it up right now for the show, but a few notes first of all. First of all, if you like what I say, you might like what I wear. So I have some merchandise. My lovely daughter came all the way to Florida to show you that stuff. If you like it, buy it. If you don't, I guess. All right. Anyway, I'm going to have, the rabbi's going to want to say a few moments, but what I wanted to see, because you all came down here, I want to know what I should wear, you know? So I need somebody, Nick. Let them decide what I should be wearing for the show. Now, this comes from my sponsor called Taylor, which is pretty cool. What they do is once a month they give me clothes based on what they think I should wear. And I get to wear them for a month and then I get to send them back. Or I get to keep them. So if you're interested and you like this idea of getting clothes sent to you, I'm not changing pants in front of you, sorry. If you like this idea, it's not another show. But if you like this idea, if you go to Taylor, Taeleor, and you put in Bud Rebel, you get 25% off, which is pretty good. So, let's get to the shirts, and you decide. I will not wear unless you want me to wear. So, I need an official count. Can I have Michael Adams here? He was very helpful. Is he back there? Michael? Michael? No, Michael.
Michael Adams.
All right. Let me have this gentleman with the hat there. Nick? Okay, Nick. Nick Harris. Come over here, Nick, please.
Nick Harris.
You're not done yet. You're not done yet, Nick. Okay, we're going to have the rabbi speak, but I need you to walk around and let me know which shirt I have to wear. You are doing
Nick!
Let everybody have a vote. Walk around while the rabbi's going to speak, and then I will change into my wardrobe for tonight.
In front of everyone?
Yes, I will in front of everybody. Those two outfits. And I realize it's very important because if I wear the blue shirt, I have to change my hat to a blue hat. If you choose the red hat, I will have to change it. So your vote is so important. Nick is going to go around and make sure before we start the podcast what shirt I should wear tonight. Please vote. Vote twice if you like.
How you feeling, Nick?
And I hope he has comments. And Rabbi, I have a rabbi up here as a man of faith. Come up here, Rabbi.
Nick and the rabbi!
Before I have you say a few words, what is the Jewish thought about UFOs?
Jewish people feel that they're UFOs.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, good. I can take it. Okay, cool. All right, so the rabbi wants to say a few words. And you want to say a few words? How to the Torah?
Yes, I want to introduce.
Yes? No?
Yeah, you can say the Torah.
The Torah, okay.
Big brother, big sister.
Big brothers, okay. The Torah, I didn't get to read for that, yeah. You didn't tell me.
Point to whoever's speaking. And then when
All right,
it's
so
done,
like God
we'll
was
just
the
set it
Torah.
back to normal.
My name is Bud Rebel.
The Torah from Bud.
Big for Bud.
Oh, no, it's all right. It's not the show. We'll do that. We'll do that. Come to my shul. I'm going to share Israel to you to Bud Torah. We're going to go back here. Nick is going back with the shirt.
I'm coming.
Rabbi is going to give us a few words for Big Brother and Sister, and then I will change. And we are going to find out the mystery of UFOs. I wanted first of all to say one thing. Thank you so much for being patient. You know, it was a little bit delayed, but this is the film industry. Everything gets delayed, so sorry. All right, thank you very much. Nick is going around and decide what I wear. Thank you.
Okay,
Rabbi,
all right.
Go ahead. No,
All right.
Before Bud goes, I'm going to actually
sorry.
Jillian, who brought me here.
Jillian already spoke.
Oh, Jillian already spoke, so I missed her speech.
Yeah.
Okay, so I work with Big Brother and Big Sister, so I can testify what Big Brother and Big Sister wants if anyone has any questions. But if anyone doesn't have questions, they are now involved with actually my company that offers mental health services. So I'm not going to speak about mental health right now because it's going to bring everyone in a very depressing mood, and we want to hear about UFOs, which are probably going to make us really, really excited. But if anyone ever feels that they're a UFO, we work with Jillian very closely with great social workers and great psychologists who can help all the UFOs get the time of Earth.
Thank you. All right, so we're setting up for the thing. I need some chairs here. I have a UFO expert. This is better than seeing like the whole truth. Everyone's been hearing a lot of the stuff what's going on. I know everyone's watching about all of a sudden the government is allowing the UFO files to come out after 40 years, and there's been a lot of weird stuff. There's been actual Air Force that have seen UFOs. There's some strange stuff. So I have an expert, and I'm really happy to have her. Her name is Ari. She's going to come up here. She's going to tell us all about all the mysteries, not just that, but also conspiracy theories. And she has a really fascinating life, so we're so excited to have her come up here. But I still need my shirt picked. Do we have a decision yet? Has the decision been made by Nick? What shirt I shall wear? I shall wear. Nick, are we still? Decision is still being made. I need my. Nick, what is it? Oh, what's the decision? Oh, I hope it's the red. I hope it's red. I hope it's red. I hope it's red.
It's red!
Woo!
It's a fucking red shirt!
I'm gonna change it. Now, don't get your. I come prepared. This is no naked thing. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get prepared, and let's get those chairs ready for us.
And the chair's ready!
The chair's ready
For Bruce!
I need 2 chairs.
All right, take it off. Take it off.
Take it off!
Woo!
Yeah.
Can we get a little table, maybe?
Yup, absolutely, sir. Genuine? Anything, sir. Anything for you
Oh,
fucking guys.
Go ahead. Play.
Are you wearing my shirt? Fucking expensive ukulele. The table. I need the
You
table.
see the table?
Okay,
Need a
grab
notebook.
this.
Thank you.
You grab these.
Don't leave yet.
These.
We're just beginning the
This is
show.
your phone.
This is just getting
I love
started.
you.
I know it's right.
This is mine. I love you.
Take it easily, folks. Hang on in there.
My leg.
I'm so sorry. I love you.
Oh, Nick will sing for us a little lullaby while we're waiting.
No, you guys don't want to hear me sing.
Can anybody juggle?
Can anyone juggle? I'll make this thing happen. Get that shirt on.
Get the shirt on.
You want to hear what these aliens are
I can't juggle. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about my roof.
Yes.
It will survive.
All right.
I'm so sorry. Just throw it on top of my acoustic. Thank you so much.
Yes, it's been live. All right. I got it. Okay, yeah.
What the fuck is
Okay.
Just slap my ass.
All right. Oh,
It's fucking weird, dude.
I smacked you
All right,
with the...
everybody. Give it up for Bud Rebel and his red shirt. Give it up now!
I owe you a drink? I'll buy you. What do you want? I got you.
this is our first live show. This is live. Everybody here is live. I just want you to realize the whole world is seeing you right now. Everybody who you want to see. Anyway, I want to introduce Ari to the stage, please. Everyone give Ari a round of applause. Okay, so for those that are unfamiliar with the Bud Rebel Show, it's a podcast. Wherever you can see podcasts on Spotify and so forth. Our show is basically about 2 concepts, Bud and Rebel. What is a Bud Rebel? Bud Rebel is a person that's a good person that's just a little bit different. We are not afraid to be ourselves. And that's what, at the end, we're going to talk about. Excited?
I'm always excited.
Very good.
Great.
When you tune into the Bud Rebel Show, which again is on Spotify, and you need to tell all your friends to listen to it on Spotify, please. When you listen to it, you get a really amazing business idea that will either make you money, lose you money, but definitely make you think. It will also is a show where we have some weird facts, like the Snapple facts. We also talk about leadership and what it takes to be a great leader. And I tell a little bit of my life. I also tell you how you actually can make money. And I usually end with a hopeful note. But before that, I always introduce a very interesting guest. And my interesting guest is Ari. Ari! Before we get started with this UFO stuff, you have a very, very interesting life story. I mean, you've been all over the place. Give me a little bit. If you're a lawyer or something, give me a background.
So what I like to tell people is that I'm the, bastard punk who grew up by the river.
White trash!
White trash! So I went to law school. I graduated the Elizabeth Hobbs School of Law at Pace University.
Sounds very good.
It's Pace Law. Don't let them tell you otherwise. I walked in 2019, graduated in 2020. But the reason why my walk date and my degree date is different is around the time of my final year, my mother got very sick, and it came to a point where I realized that I'm going to be taking the bar exam in July. What is going to happen? She is not doing well, and those are not. There's never any ideal condition to be taking the bar exam in. It is like the worst thing ever, aside from like the bottom level. Actually, no, it's worse than the bottom level of hell. So I was just like, you know what? I have to put this off. And then the minute I said those words, I'm not taking the bar exam, I was like, oh, I actually kind of want to live like past 30.
Wait a minute.
That's
So you go through 3 years of law school, and
Yeah.
then at the time of the bar exam, you just say, maybe I want to be a lawyer.
I mean,
That's a Bud Rebel thought. Go ahead.
punk rock. So my mother was the catalyst, but before that it really had built up because I had always been really passionate about, performing, about entertainment. I grew up watching like great performances and, all the old school musicals, and it was something that I was always very passionate about. But I was always told that I can't go that route because I was meant to, take care of the family. Like that was the thing, like get the family out of poverty, because they're like, you have an amazing brain, you're brilliant, you can do it. So I figured that being a lawyer is that good middle ground because, I get the writing in, you get that creative storytelling in, a little bit of the performance aspect because I was in litigation, and I figured like that's the good path. But even all throughout law school, I still kept performing. Like my first year, I did a play in a day challenge that was, so you met at 7 o'clock at night. You pulled random words out of a hat. The playwright had until 7 a.m. the next morning to write a 10-minute play.
Wow.
Director got in at 8 o'clock, hired the crew at 9 o'clock. They started doing their thing. Actors got there at 11, and the show went up at 7 p.m.
And you did this while you're at law school.
During finals week.
a little bit more energy than I think.
It's one of those things that people are like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, it's a great way to relax. It's fine.
And you got through the finals.
I got through the finals.
You actually passed though.
I did.
Okay.
I did, yeah. I am officially like the artist formerly known as Ariana Sotos, JD.
So now you get out of law school. You get out of law school. You're like this adventure. What do you do now?
Well, I was lucky that I had people in my back, that had my back when I said that I wanted to.
It's very funny though, by the way.
Because it all started with a character called Baby Doll Killer, which was a baby-faced killer with a slit throat that sang songs to you. So that's how it really got started. Was in right before I graduated, I did this haunted attraction called the Horseman's Hollow. And I got behind the scenes work because the director gave me the ability and the trust to let me behind the scenes and really build up my repertoire. And he'd always turn to me and be like, "Aren't you supposed to be in school?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." And that's the people I turned to when I decided to make that massive career change. And that's what thankfully brought me to the Pine Bush UFO and Paranormal Museum. That was right after I graduated the beginning of May 2019. And then I worked the first time at the museum in the end of May of 2019, and here we are now.
Okay, so this museum, Ari, do UFOs really exist?
Ooh, okay. So, yes, they do. And this is why I'm going to
Mark, listen!
Yeah, Mark!
Mark! Give it up for Mark,
You're on
everybody.
TV, Mark!
No, good.
I like your plaid.
Go back to Ari. Do UFOs really exist?
They do, because so even if like extraterrestrials don't exist, right? Even if UFOs as flying saucers as we think they are, they don't exist. There is a phenomenon going on, and It's people trying to conceptualize and understand these strange things that are happening. You know, kind of like how back in the day, we didn't understand how weather worked, right? So how did we come up with the ancient gods? It's a way to kind of help understand the way that weather works. It's easy to blame bad weather on Zeus.
Now, I want to tell you something. I was on a plane once, and the young lady over there was on the plane with me, and all of a sudden I saw an object flying at night, right across the plane was flying. And I thought maybe something was wrong with me, and so I had the young lady over there look, and she saw it too. So I don't know, I mean, I actually saw, quote, a UFO, I don't know what else could be. We're in a plane up there and we're seeing this thing. Is that people reporting those things in planes and stuff?
A lot of people have been reporting in planes, and it's not even just civilians. There have been, as you noted before, a lot of Air Force footage and a lot of notes from the Air Force. But even more than the Air Force, fun fact, the U.S. Navy is the #1 reporter of UFO activity.
Now, could it be so, I mean, I don't get so conspiratorial, but like some of the newer planes, the newer devices they made seem a little bit like, almost like UFOs. The B-52, I think, bomber, I think if I remember correctly, the stealth bomber, very unusual design. And people like saying, hey, where did they come up with this crazy design? When we go back, we look at the history of the pyramids, people saying, how could they have made this incredible structure in such an ancient history? Is those things that you explore with your museum, basically?
We don't really explore ancient aliens theory directly. We largely focus on goings-on in the Hudson Valley and a lot of the possible science behind UFOs.
You mean Hudson Valley is the UFO capital type thing?
So Hudson Valley is in the top 5 of UFO sightings.
Wow.
And Pine Bush, which is about, I'd say like an hour 15 north of here, they are called the Roswell of the East, Area 52, because of the amount of UFO sightings that there are.
Wait, so what's the number one UFO sighting? One of the number one?
So, I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Okay, but we're number 5. That's not bad. And that means how many people say in this community have said they've seen UFOs, basically?
So honestly, throughout the museum, we usually would give a tour, like 3 or 4 tours a day, and at least one of the tours would have one person saying that they saw something. And a lot of people even flock to the museum because they're just like, I've had this experience, I can't tell anybody because they think I'm nuts. Can I tell you, and like maybe you can explain it? So a lot of people with experiences will come to the museum.
Let's go a step further. Is it possible, right now as we're in this place here, that there are alien beings living among us right now? Maybe that guy over there named Mark. How would we know? Has there been any report of actual alien beings? I remember seeing a show when I was younger, it was amazing, where they were called wizard people, they were like the leaders. Did you see that? It was an amazing show. Peak Victory? Amazing. But is there any proof that there have been aliens actually going into our society as a whole?
MUFON has had evidence of some type of unknown DNA that is related to, it's a lizard from South America that has been called an evolutionary link between lizards and humans. So some kind of DNA that has been traced to that has been found by the Mutual UFO Network.
And going back to, I know this again, it's not your expertise, but with the idea about the pyramids, the structure, there's always been a discussion about some of these ancient cultures having such knowledge that they're wondering where it came from. Is that something that people have explored as well? I mean,
that is something that people have explored because a lot of people don't understand how these ancient people could have done something like this, but a lot of it relates back to mathematics. And then people start asking like, well, how do they know about the mathematics and things like that? Another thing that a lot of people focus on is the concept that maybe these ancient aliens, these ancient beings have presented themselves, and that is how you got the ancient gods of Egypt, Hor, like things all like that. Just because that's what gifted them the information, these extraterrestrials that have taken on like a divine presence.
it's very interesting. The biggest thing that I would say is that the idea that the government kept it secret for so long, this whole thing, the whole UFO, creates a whole feeling that it exists automatically. And why is it kept so hidden? It's such a weird concept. It's like almost like, could there be like us working with these aliens, develop things, do technology. Has there been any type of data or science to prove? There's a very famous gentleman that says he worked, I don't know his name off the top of my head, that said he worked in a special lab,
Yep.
and he was working very well established, and he went there and he met all these people.
That's Bob Lazar, yes.
Bob Lazar, yeah,
He,
people know it. Bob Lazar, it's very interesting. Maybe tell a little story.
Yeah, he alleges that he was able to reverse engineer alien craft, and the way that these crafts are able to traverse is by folding gravity. Because by folding gravity, you are taking physics out of the equation. So you know when you watch some of the rockets go up, and as they're exiting the atmosphere, they burst into flames? That's physics, because you were literally fighting gravity. So if you just take gravity out of the equation and you kind of smush it together, you are able to traverse time. Because without gravity, our concept of time whoop, goes out the window. So have fun thinking about that at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
2 a.m. thoughts.
So that is one theory, that by taking away gravity, as alleged by Bob Lazar, you essentially are able to traverse not only throughout time, but also throughout location. So that's why you would have sightings similar from, noted in New York, also being seen at LA at very similar time points. They're not dealing with the same amount of physics that we are. It's not like taking an airplane, because they're literally just smushing things together.
Wow, it's really wild. I mean, I was watching a rival podcast, Joe Rogan, and he had this wonderful physicist genius, and he was saying how he goes like these special beds and tell him top secret information, and it's like the stuff that he's coming out with is really wild. Now, I'm going to give you a out of the world business idea. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm wondering, and maybe one of you out there will think of this idea with me, why there isn't a DNA vitamin. A vitamin based on a person's DNA that we take for life. So that if you have, let's say, your white cell is a little low, or you maybe have a little trauma, whatever, it would be the vitamin you take for life ever. And it'd be just geared to you.
I'm signed up already. my sickle cell is already cheering for this. Where do
And I've always wondered why we haven't done that yet, because you take it for life. It would be good for the drug companies, right? It'd be a nice little thing of that. And also, I have one more business idea, and I'm always good I have a lot of family members that are musicians. And the whole stock market is based on businesses. Why can't you have like interest in a musician? Like a stock interest in a musician. As they go up, you go up. And if you feel it's too risky, like a mutual fund. So you have a group of rock musicians, you have a group of country musicians, and you buy the shares of that type of artist, and you help them support them, and it'd be more fun because you get to go to their concerts. Maybe we'd see this young lady tonight, Hannah, and we'd see her in concert, we got the tickets, it'd be really amazing.
I already bought my tickets.
So those would be the little out-of-the-world experience. Now, how did you get so involved in this whole paranormal thing? How did you what drove you to be so interested in this whole thing?
Well, I'd always been interested in paranormal because I had paranormal experiences growing up. Like a few years after my grandmother passed, I heard her voice clear as day just call out to me like Ariana, and I was just like, and I was really freaked out.
Where was that when this happened?
I was in the place that I first lived in down up in Stony Point. So she passed when I was 5, and this probably happened when I was like 9 or 10. Like in the summer, I was like home from school for the summer. I was cleaning out my room. And then I thought I felt something like over my shoulder, and so I kind of went like that, and I was like, whatever. And then I just heard her voice clear as day, just call my name, and I just bolted out of my bedroom, and I was like, Mom, 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 Mom. She was, yeah, she's probably doing that. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, just casual. And then I'd also I went to a Catholic school that had the Sisters of Charities as teachers. And one day I was there early in the morning because my mom worked the morning school program. And I was going down the hall, and I went to one of the classrooms, and I saw like somebody in like one of those old school bonnets, like all in black, like standing over a desk. And then she looks over at me, and I bolted the minute she looked at me. I was like, okay, bye. Again, went to my mother. Turns out it was the Sisters of Charity were working there at the time, and there had been a nun who had passed away in that room.
Wow, you certainly got like maybe special abilities to do this stuff. Maybe I heard that you might be like a a ghost hunter also part-time.
I do go on paranormal investigations. I recently investigated the haunted Shanley Hotel up in Nappanog with my good friend Melissa Norton, who she's Paranormal on Instagram. You should follow her. She goes on a lot of cool adventures. That place, if you ever in the mood to go, oh, Kayla's also here too. Kyla, oh my God, Kyla's here. I really recommend going to the Shanley. It was very active, got a lot of good evidence. We got video of the door just opening by itself with nobody around. We had audio recordings that we're able to get. They're known as EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon, because we don't always hear with our human ear these, otherworldly spirits, but we can hear them upon recording because they speak on different levels that
What
we
did they say to you?
Um,
You should go to Bud Rebels podcast this weekend?
So we had some growling. We got
So you die, you growl?
some of them
I'm
will
not
growl.
gonna growl when I pass away. I'm not gonna growl.
You're too nice to growl. You're gonna be Blood Rebel the friendly ghost.
Yeah, why do you mean ghosts? I don't
Give
understand
us
that.
the mean one, Rebel. Do it again.
That's right, that
We're
is-
gonna get you to be a scare actor.
Yeah,
We're gonna
so-
put you in a haunt.
Well, what, I wrote something a while ago, and I did a little script on it. Big. Why do the ghosts have to be mean? Why can't the ghosts just be like your friend? Like Casper was a
Some
nice
of
ghost.
them are
Ghost
nice.
friend.
Some of them are nice. Honestly, some of the ones that are at the museum, because we have a haunted objects room, some of them are really nice. A little bit mischievous at times, like they'll play tricks on you, but some of them are really kind, and they've come through a radio transmission event. Talking, just saying like they knew who worked at the museum, like they knew me and the director. They said really nice things, that they're happy there. So there are friendly ghosts. It's
Well, what's the theory of a ghost? Again, I always thought a ghost was someone who's in the stage before going to, quote, heaven or hell. Get stuck. And usually those people have been murdered. And then you have trying to find the person that did it to them, right?
like the unfinished business
Right,
theory.
is that what's the theory behind ghosts as a whole?
So there's a few different theories about ghosts. So one of it has to deal with the multiverse theory that people always like to pin on Marvel, but was first talked about by Albert Einstein. So a lot of it is that we have overlapping timelines. So as much as we're seeing them kind of go about their business, we're ghosts to them too. So that's why you also have stories about ghosts getting mutually scared by seeing a living person. It's just our timelines are intersecting and they're just going about their business and we're just seeing a little film clip basically of their life. Another one is that because energy is never created nor destroyed, that energy has to go somewhere. So that's why oftentimes you'll have instances of haunted objects, because that energy is being attached to it either because of a personal sentimental connection or even because of how the object is made itself, because figure you have conducive minerals such as quartz or silver, things like that.
It's interesting. Many other people think these are all like conspiracy theories and they don't make any sense to you, but I have a little strange fact that I bet most people don't know, that in World War II, our country was bombed by Japan on our soil. Do you know that? We were bombed in a city called Oregon. We bombed in Oregon, the city. And it's like, you never hear about it in the news. It's like, there's so many things that don't make sense, that don't, they don't talk about. And I'm open to hearing anything, honestly, at this point. I really don't trust the government at all. So, it's all possible, that any of this thing can be happening.
Anything is really possible statistically. It might be a 0.000000009 chance, but anything technically is possible.
Yeah, and knowing that, from the rabbi, that aliens can exist, that can help out too. I was going to ask you now, I always switch on to the conversation about people that have certain amount of emotional intelligence. About leadership qualities. And one of the things I think that we should look on, I try not to do the actual different issues of political views on in terms of getting a leader, because in 2024 we had a leader. And I think one of the big things they have to have is emotional intelligence. The type of person that can deal with a stressful event in a calm way, but at the same time be able to emote with the people that are suffering. What do you think of that?
I definitely agree, because there is a lot of emotional intelligence needed in order to be a leader, because if you have no amount of empathy, you're going to look upon the suffering of the people that you're supposed to lead, and you're just going to scoff at it. You're not going to have any ability to connect with it, to seek a solution that's not only equal but also equitable. Because a lot of people think that, you know, equality is the same thing as equity, and it's not. But if you have that emotional intelligence, you'll be able to tell the difference and make a fair-minded decision that everybody is able to achieve something that's better than what they're currently going through.
Right, and I think that one of the things is a lot of people, either they're too cold or they're too hot. So you need somebody right in the balance to be able to deal with the whole thing. Maybe in themselves have a fine solution that takes everybody in. So I think that's a very important thing. I wanted to also bring up, I couldn't do this podcast without thinking about those people that passed away in Nashville. In the shooting. And we always go back to the same debates of what's causing that and wondering. And I know there's certain things that we can get into the discussion about guns or whatever, but what I'm looking for really is what has changed between our culture, when there's always been guns, and our culture from now to the time we are now with a shooting at it. I don't even conceive of how someone can go to a church and shoot. I can't even fathom that. And again, the only thing I can think about is these medicines that they're giving to young people. That I can think that's a difference. There used to be a time when you waited to their preteens or whatever. I've heard that young ladies are taking steroids. I know that when I went to the gym, and if you take steroids, it makes you really whatever. And I know people have different opinions about all this stuff, but the medicine they're giving, I think it's different for young people. And I think that's one of the things that's different. What do you think about that concept? That what is causing the change that someone actually do this type of action?
I mean, that's a plausible explanation, because there is statistically more things like Ritalin and Adderall being prescribed, which are stimulants, and ADHD is being diagnosed on a mass scale, and the question is it one of those things that it's, go a little bit conspiracy here, is it just to get more money for the insurance companies, because the more you diagnose, the more prescriptions and the more money, like that kind of thing, or is it that we're now finally noticing it, and just able to put a name to it? In terms of why there's so much violence, especially towards, some of the most innocent of people, especially, like young children, I don't know the answer. If I did, I would report it to everybody immediately.
Well, I thought of a while ago about, well, that's one thing. The medicines is a big thing that they're giving out to young people, very young people. And I'm worried about especially steroids. I know that I've seen it happen with people that it's really hyped them up. And, I think you gotta really wait till somebody can get a certain age before you give certain medicines, surgeries and so on. I think that's a situation. I also think the situation that's also a problem is that you can't change a 24-hour 7 cycle in the news, but if you want to get attention now, you got that CNN, Fox News on. Used to a shooting, you're getting that attention right away. And I don't know, they put this young lady, I shouldn't say lady, she's a monster to me that she killed these people, but this person that killed these people, they put a picture up right away. So if you're a little out of it, and you want to get your picture on the camera, and you want to get mad, I don't know how to stop that, because you want the news to spread, but at the same time, we should focus on the people that died. Shouldn't they be at the top of the picture? Shouldn't they be the people that we should focus on, not the villain that's killing people? I don't know. That's one other thing that I find is different. We didn't have a 24/7 cycle in the 80s and stuff before then.
Yeah, there is a big issue. I call it like the Joker effect, with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. It's that, you get that hyper-focused fame, and it's very unfortunate that, there's just being so much violence inflicted. And like you said before, maybe it just goes back to people not having empathy.
Yeah, I wonder if the empathy thing is not as big. I think the biggest also we have now, a bigger situation also because of the whole shutdowns. When businesses shut down and kids didn't have any place to go, communities were lacking. That really was a big problem as well.
I agree. I think that there is a lack of community, and that I can speak to personally because I realized that growing up I did have a lack of community, and a lot of that really related to, social status and financial situation. A lot of, opportunities weren't afforded just because of where we were, and it's not like anymore. It's like everybody is so much more isolated because you can't go out, and now it's just expanding outward. That kind of situation.
Yeah, I think that's a problem, is that the isolation. We don't get to
I'm
the
sorry,
end.
there's just a little frog that went by.
Yeah,
And it was like,
I think that-
I think some aliens.
There might be some aliens. That's something-
wait, you got that on camera, right?
Yeah. You know, I also, before we get too deep in this, I also like to offer a quote money-making tip. It's always good, especially nowadays. It's very, very difficult to make money. So, do you know this? I think I might have brought this up before, but if you can do a long-term put, you like a company, okay? Let's say you like the company like CVS. You think CVS is a good company, correct?
I
So-
go to CVS.
And
It's
the
convenient, it's up the road.
And the stock is down, you can do a long-term put where they actually give you money up front in your pocket. It's gonna be in your pocket. It's not a bad thing. And then if the stock in a year stays at that same price, you have to buy it. If it goes up, you don't have to buy it. But the good advantage of the money, now that's one thing. I think I mentioned this before, but I really am such a big fan of the South. If you also have a company that you have in your portfolio, and you're making money on it, you're okay. Even if you're not making money, you're making money on it. You do not make money on stocks until you either sell them or you get the dividends. Dividends, nothing really. So the only way you can make money in a stock is if you do a call against it, if you own the stock. So if you own, let's say, Apple, okay, and you own Apple at $30 each share, and you bought at 26, you could say, I'm willing to give it away at $32. You know they give you money for that? In your pocket again. You get that money. Now, the big negative with that one, of course, and if the stock goes to 34, you have to give it to them at 32. So you don't make as much money. But this is a way you can keep accumulating wealth. And I think I love to play that game. And of course, now with interest rates going up, and you want to be safe, treasuries, New York City bonds, these are ways that people can make money in today's market, which is very important. You know, it's very difficult in today's market as a whole.
It is, and CDs I think are also a pretty good way too, like they're pretty secure, and then you may, I think depending, if you go to like the smaller bank, like the credit unions and things like that, I think you get a better interest rate on the return.
Right. I mean, it's, again, the more risk, the more reward. It depends how careful you feel like the risk you might say in the market.
Well, you know, the difference between a gamble and a calculated risk is how many steps ahead you thought out and how many different possibilities you thought could occur.
Right.
So it's not so much about like taking the gamble. You don't want to get. I'm not a gambler. I don't like gambling. I don't
like gambling.
I like my educated risk. I like taking that
You
like.
play craps and you like gambling. You know why you like craps and you like gambling? Because if you're just winning, everybody in the table likes you. They all love you. You're making more money. So it's a very nice thing.
Everybody wins.
Everybody wins. So it's a nice thing when everybody wins. But going back to the aliens thing, do we have something to fear? People that rock. Is there something that could be going on? Is there the government keeping this secret? You have people that go. I mean, these aliens or whatever might have higher technology than we have. Do we have something to actually fear? Is our government going to even be able to handle it? Well, our government can't handle anything. How can they handle these high intelligent beings coming in and if they want to take over the world? I think you guys will give them the cake. I don't know. Is that a fear that we have to have?
I mean, I always joke that, I welcome the alien overlords because how much worse can it get? But I always tell people that aliens are more like us than we probably like to think. You know how there's different types of people, there's different types of societies, or different types of cultures. So one alien race could be benevolent and come down and be like, okay, humans, we're gonna fix all your problems, or they're like, oh, thank you. And then there's gonna be other ones that come down and go, wow, this is a dumpster fire, C4, boom. There's a lot of speculation involved because we have yet to have, an official like ET come down and to my knowledge, and make any.
Well, the question is, if there are UFOs actually here and they're here, why are they here? What is their intention right now? Why do they come? And they're just like going sightseeing and say, hey, let's go to Rockland County. I heard they have a really good restaurant. What is the purpose of why they come to this? Why do they come to here? What's now?
That is one theory, that they're literally just coming to visit, you know, kind of like a Jurassic Park style thing. They're like, oh wow, that's how we used to be type of thing. Like they're kind of taking a trip through time. Others, it's more of like a scientific research thing, that we're different than them, so they want to know more about us. One theory is that it is surveillance, because, you know, they could be, you know, planning some kind of takeover or anything like that. A lot of it is speculation and open to different theories.
I mean, it's been going on since man has been here. I mean, it's like and so time is a relative thing, as they say. Time's relative. But it's like, if they're doing all this time, why didn't they just do it already? You know, why are they taking all this time to take over or something? Which is interesting. And if there are different aliens, you know, the thing is, it's funny, with all the galaxies, there's an alien from Pluto. I mean, there could be different ones, and maybe they're fighting over who's going to be us. You know, we don't even know that part about it.
There is that theory that there is like an intergalactic alliance type of thing, and they're fighting it out, you know, amongst themselves. Type of situation, you know, like the reptilians versus the grays versus, you know, blues and all that kind of stuff.
Now, this museum that you work at, can you tell us more about it, where it is, what's it about? Tell me more about the whole thing.
Yes, so it's the Pine Bush UFO and Paranormal Museum. What we focus on is the history of UFO sightings throughout the Hudson Valley, possible reasons why they've decided the Hudson Valley should be a hotspot, and also some science behind why they could be sighting. Because some of the sightings that are, you know, UFOs at the time do have a scientific explanation later on, or they are starting to develop the science to explain why. And then going into the paranormal, we have our cryptid section, because there have been Sasquatch sightings in the Hudson Valley and folklore regarding that.
Bigfoot, wait a minute. We have Bigfoot here and UFO. We're right in we have everything here. Wow, we have UFOs and we have Bigfoot. This is pretty exciting.
Top 10 for Bigfoot sightings in the country.
Really?
And Hyde Park, yeah. Right by the Culinary Institute of America. So if you're ever, you know, really strapped for a date night, just go squatching in Hyde Park and finish off with a dinner at the CIA. And we have, you know, many haunted areas in the Hudson Valley. You know, it's a very historic site, so we talk about...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the 76 House, the very famous restaurant, supposedly the ghost of...
Andre Alexander Hamilton has been spotted there. George Washington.
George Washington, I'd like to meet George Washington, it'd be very cool.
Right, I'd sit down and have a cup of coffee, let's chat a little bit. And you should ask him about what he thinks about what's going on with the government.
I mean, really, it's very interesting all this time. So, I mean, with the going back to the ghost part about this, is that you're saying are we ranked on that list in terms of a highest ranked community on that? Are we ranked high with ghosts as a whole too?
There are a lot of ghosts in the area. I mean, they don't really, they rank usually by location. Shanley Hotel ranks really highly for, you know, paranormal activity.
And where is that located?
That's in Napanoch, so that's probably about an hour 40 north. It's 20 minutes northwest in the Schwamgunk Mountains past Pine Bush.
That's where they see a lot of
the Shanley Hotel, yes, that's
Were you with it? Did you go there?
Yep, so that was the investigation I did in March. In Rockland County, we also have Letchworth Village. That was...
Oh yes, I heard about that. That was a psychiatric hospital. They closed.
That was, yeah, so it started off originally as a humanitarian project, because it used to be that in asylums they would just chain people to the wall.
Right.
They were the first attempt at giving people, you know, jobs and giving them creative projects, things like that. But then it also turned into a highly experimental facility.
Wow.
So a lot of what we know about neuroscience comes from two places, Letchworth Village and Nazi experiments.
Oh my gosh, that's really freaky. And that area is supposed to be haunted.
Very haunted. That's so they've renovated some of the buildings to be community centers. And Corey was in some of these shows too with Rockland Theater.
Yeah!
So there were when we would rehearse in, you know, Stony Point Town Hall area or Fieldstone, there was some paranormal activity that went on in those renovated buildings.
Wow. Pretty wild. So if people want to know more about what you do, and they want to find out more about the whole paranormal, can you give them information about what you do and how you do?
Yes, so you should definitely follow Pine Bush Museum on Facebook and Instagram. We have a lot of exciting events coming up. We are hosting Alexandra Holzer of the Holzer Files on April 22nd when we restart our gallery lecture series. And we're also going to be kicking off a historic lantern haunted tour. So you definitely want to keep updated about those events.
A haunted lantern tour.
Yep.
When is this?
So we're going to be starting that this summer.
Wow.
around the Pine Bush area, yep. And then if you want to follow some other, my personal paranormal investigations, you can follow me on Instagram as Lizzie_punk. I usually go out with, my friends, and we'll go to haunted places like the Shanley, things like that.
I think there's some ghost that just came in as you're speaking.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Hey!
Well, I always like to end the podcast with a hopeful note. And what I've sensed is in this world that we live in, like you mentioned before, there's a lack of community. People feeling very distant from each other. And the whole idea of the Bud Rebels in some way is a community. It's a community of people that are good people in general, but they like to have their unique angle, the rebellious side, even the guy yelling in the background, right there. And the idea is that we are community for you. So if you are out there and you feel lost, for whatever reason, you just feel like there's nobody there who listens to you, you feel like the world is not going your way, we're here for you. Become part of our community. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be yourself. We want that in life. That's what makes this country great, is unique people that come up with unique products. Where would we be without Tesla, Elon Musk? Where would we be without any food? The idea is you are a great person by being that unique individual. But always be a good person. Never push people too far. And always be there. And you can join our community. Thank you so much for joining us for the live Bud Rebel show. And God bless you. Thank you. Have a good night.